Today on Expert Showcase, we're going behind the episode that we just created with Dev Singh in Sydney, Australia, talking about 3 fundamentals to build a world-class brand.
And welcome to Behind the Episode. As you can see above me, we got our incredible interviewee, our incredible guest for today. I came up with 17 different names for everybody, so we'll have to figure 16, 15 more. The hamsters are all okay at this point, so very inside joke, folks. See, you've got to watch all these episodes to start getting the inside jokes. Anyway, we've got a great guest from today, Dev. It was an incredible interview. If you're a coach or consultant, I'm going to tell you right now, you got to stick through this behind the episode and watch Dev's episode on the other end. You're going to get boatloads of value out of it. And then we've got our awesome interviewer, Mark. There we go. See, okay, there. All I have to do is figure out which way to point. It's an X. I got to point over here. So we got our awesome interviewer over there. I can never get this right, Dev. We look like Hollywood squares. I haven't figured it out yet. But anyway, without any further ado, because we'll ado before the ado later, Mark, take it away so I can shut up.
Okay, I'm going to save you from yourself, Chris.
Thank you.
Dev, welcome to the Behind the Episode portion. As Chris is rightly saying, we've already shot the episode, and people are going to watch that on our blog here at the end of our Behind the Episodes. But we always like to go under the hood here, get to know our guest a little bit better, because our audience is made up of coaches, consultants, experts who are all out there trying to look at how to better promote themselves. So you become our example, essentially, of how people can be doing that better. And you're an awesome guest to have because you're both an example and it is the main topic of the work that you do. So people are going to get 2 for 1 here. So Dev, tell us a little bit about how you came to be an expert in branding. I mean, what was your path to get there?
It's an interesting story, Mark. There's a lot of facets to it now because it's evolved very organically over a period of time. And I guess the main crux of it is that quite a few years ago now, when I graduated from my undergrad in Sydney here at the University of Technology, Sydney, I graduated from a double degree in business and medical science. And I took a path to medical school. So I went to graduate medical school to study medicine, to be a doctor. Incidentally, I was very much had my sort of sights set on becoming a psychiatrist. I was always very interested in studying the mind and what made people tick and what exactly was going on for people under their hood, particularly for myself as well, but also for other people. In that period, my first 6 months of medicine, I got very, very sick. So I found myself in hospital on a bed as a patient, a real patient, not a practice patient, like I was in class a couple of times. And I had an operation, and without going into the gory details of it, something went wrong. So I ended up getting rushed to the ER a second time, a few days after my first operation, and there was a horrendous sequence of episodes that happened sort of leading up to that and then in between that as well. But out of respect for the time of this particular format, I won't go into that. But essentially what happened was I almost died. And I found myself stuck on a hospital bed, bleeding out completely, waiting for the crash team to sort of come and revive me, and then getting rushed to surgery to stitch myself up. And it was something related to do with my throat. And a few hours after that second operation, I woke up in a very dark room and kind of looked around, and I couldn't speak. My voice was completely gone at that point, and I was in a lot of pain. And this voice came to me, and that sounds kind of funny now because I've said it so many times, but it still kind of chokes me up a little bit when I think about how vividly I remember this. But this voice, or this idea, this ephemeral sort of thought came to my mind, and it asked me a simple question. It said, "When you get your voice back, Dave, what do you actually want to say?"
Wow.
And I initially sort of brushed it away. I said, "What is this? Some sort of cheesy, dramatic Hollywood movie? Go away. I don't need thoughts like that." But it kept sticking. It kept sticking with me. And for a period of time, I was very lost as to what I wanted to do. But asking myself that question made me realize that being a doctor was a great thing, but it wasn't for me. I wasn't doing it for the right reasons. And it put me on this path of self-exploration and trying to figure out, A, why I was asking that question and what it actually meant to me, and what I really wanted to do with myself. What came out of that was that that question about what is it that I wanted to say eventually evolved and sort of recontextualized into this question of what did I want to stand for and who did I want to be as a person. And I realized that a value that was really strong for me that came out of it was this idea of integrity and being the same person and showing up as the same person in all facets of your life. And I realized that people that I resonated with experiences that I had and people that I wanted to associate with were business people that were going through the same struggle. They were going through the struggle of feeling like they couldn't be an authentic version of themselves. They couldn't have that integrity and still be successful in business. And I realized that a big part of that was because that they didn't understand how to communicate, how to express themselves, because they were too busy making an impression on others, or trying to impress others anyway. And it wasn't working for them. So I guess an accumulation of my nerdy sort of fascination with what made the human mind work in a particular way, my fascination with what made people make certain decisions, and my real passion for helping people live in integrity, particularly leaders of the world who were out there to make a difference in the world. It found me sort of stumbling and very almost involuntarily, like some sort of I guess a mysterious kind of power was pushing me towards this path. It found me to be this person who happened to help people with branding, and that's a part of what I do now. I still don't call myself a branding expert as such, but thank you for the.
It's okay. I'll call you that. You're
most welcome to. You're most welcome to. But that's kind of the long-winded version. Well, actually, the shorter version of how I got there.
Well, that is a powerful story, Dev. I mean, it really is. That's there is. I mean, we could tease apart that story all day. I mean, it's fascinating. Wow. Yeah. I mean, so it's funny to me that you kind of are. You have realized that path of going into psychiatry in a very different way, because you are helping to really uncover the personalities of businesses, organizations, or individual people in their work persona, at least. I mean, and that is really. Stick around for the episode with Dev, where we'll get into the fact that really it is about the relationship between the unique personality of either you as your business or a larger organization in relationship with that audience, and you're uncovering that in the work that you're doing. So you've taken it in a funny different direction, but it's the same work, isn't it?
It is very much so, and obviously people, when they watch the actual episode of the show. Not the behind-the-scenes one, the regular one, I guess. They'll sort of see at face value that there's a lot of technical advice that I give in that. And then when they hear this story, they might be a little bit confused at first. But then if you go back and you watch that episode, you'll realize that a lot of things that I advise are actually about things that transcend your business. Because I really believe that that's where integrity sits. If you can show up not as the business person version of yourself, but just as yourself, and be there to serve people in the most authentic, genuine way possible, your business is going to be very successful as well. And that's what I've noticed time and time again. And I'm still on a growth path in my business, and I've had a great privilege, and I say this with great humility, of working with extremely successful people, way more successful than me, and being friends with them, and being friends with award-winning entrepreneurs and multi-millionaires who have built businesses for hundreds of millions of dollars and sold them and moved on. And I can tell you for a fact that one of the biggest insecurities that they have when they're at a low point in their business, and one of the biggest insecurities that causes them to be in a low point in their business, is when they feel like a fraud. They doubt themselves. Because
they're acting and they're worried about being exposed, right?
Absolutely. It's a huge part of it. And what this has to do ultimately with making a world-class brand is, I guess the point is that building a world-class brand might seem like a very technical thing that you do, but ultimately it's an expression of who you are, which is one of the reasons I'm really passionate about this relationship with personal brand and enterprise brand. And that's something that we can talk more about outside of the time constraint of the show. But but it's something I'm really passionate about. And sometimes people will ask me after I deliver a training or a workshop, they say, I'm a little bit confused. Are you a motivational speaker? And I say, no, I'm not. Don't accuse me of that. I get accused of plenty of things, and that's one of them. But please don't accuse me of being a motivational speaker. I may be a motivating speaker, and I'll take that as a compliment, and an inspiring speaker, and I'll take that as a compliment. But I'm here to teach business. I'm here to teach you how to build a better business. But here's the simple fact. If you want to build a world-class brand and you don't just want to have a shop that kind of pays your bills or a job that you create for yourself, but you want to build a world-class brand that has an impact and a meaning and does meaningful work, you need to appreciate a very, very simple fact as a baseline foundation, that the work that you do is a holographic representation of who you are as a person. And if you're not willing to work on yourself and your sense of integrity and your sense of commitment and what your message is, as we spoke about, Mark, in the episode, you're just not going to hit that mark. You're not going to be able to express yourself. You're just going to be constantly striving in random directions trying to impress people.
Mm-hmm. Well, and here's an analogy, Dev, that comes to my mind. Because I think many quote-unquote branding experts, if we think of an individual person, they're focused on the clothing that the person is going to wear, that the business is going to wear, how to dress you up to make you look the part. You're talking about the person inside the clothing and developing that person and bringing out their true, genuine, authentic personality and embodying those values in a business. And that is why you're being accused of being a motivational speaker, is that you're really trying to get to a deeper place. And most people are looking at marketing and branding at a very superficial level. And then we have a gut instinct. We know the companies that we truly resonate with. We don't know why necessarily. We don't necessarily articulate, but there is that sense of mission and truth and authenticity that you're talking about. So I don't know if that analogy helps people or not, but don't focus on the surface so much and the outfit. How are you going to articulate who you really are and what your authentic voice is as a company, as an enterprise, as a business? Well, Dev, we can talk about this all day, and Chris, we're kind of having a different kind of behind the episode because Dev is a different kind of person. So we're going to flip it over to you, but I'm going to guess that we're just really going to continue having a deep conversation here. But I'm going to let you take it away from there.
Okay, well, thanks. Well, first of all, Dev, great episode, and it's been awesome today, and awesome as always whenever we get the chance to talk to you. So, congratulations on that. I loved your. You're welcome. I loved the story. I loved how, especially here in the behind the scenes, how you took us through kind of where you were at, the dramatic change that happened in your life, and then how you utilize that to become the success you are today. And the reason I point that out is because what a lot of coaches and consultants don't realize is that regardless of how good or how bad their life is, they all have that hero's journey. They all have that story somewhere inside of them. They all have that story that they can utilize. I'll give you a great example. I work with a coach at one point who didn't want to show everybody his vulnerability and want to say, look, I grew up middle class, I was fine, my folks had money, everything was great, and and he kept going out and basically pounding his chest about how good everything was, and then he heard great speakers, heard their hero stories, and then started to complain that he didn't have one. And then I started working with him to ask him some questions, come to find out he was bullied as a kid. And it's like, well, use that. Because that is part of what made you, insecure today. That's what made you part of who you are today. You have to learn how to utilize that story. So the reason I bring all of this up is because for you coaches watching, especially, what, Mark, that guy in the tan recliner really likes us. He's back again. He's hanging out. He's back again. But go find your hero's journey. So I applaud you for sharing it, Dev, and I applaud you for finding it. The other thing that was baked in there, in case the audience didn't get a chance to hear it, was that Dev, after going through this major tragedy and major medical situation, had something that he thought he should do and kind of brushed it off, but then it stuck around and it started to marinate inside of him, and it wouldn't leave him go. And he just felt like he had to do it. The interesting part, Dev, is, and I'm going to ask you this, I'm going to make a statement and kind of ask you a question about it. It sounded to me like you were a very busy person before this medical accident. It sounded to me that you had kind of set your life up on a path, and if it wasn't for this accident and the time for quiet reflection and to think about things, that this wouldn't have come and this wouldn't have come into your life. Is that a fair assessment or a true statement?
Yeah, in retrospect, it's certainly fair. Yes, I was very busy before. I wasn't productive at all. I wasn't productive. There's a very big difference between being busy and productive. And I was very busy in the sense that I was doing a lot of things, and my life was very chaotic. Trust me, I wasn't very productive. I was very smart. A lot of people didn't want me to not be a doctor. Even my medical faculty, sort of wrote me letters, emails, and spoke to me, and they said, "Don't leave. You can stick, and you can do this. You'll be a really good doctor." And my response was kind of like, "Yeah, I know, but that's not the point." And I want to kind of also address the point that you made, that this thing sort of stuck around with me. I tried a lot of different things after I left medical school as well, after I went through that experience, and during my rehabilitation, and then afterwards I struggled with depression for a while. I struggled with just not even depression, but just having a lot of self-doubt and conflict within myself for a long time about what I wanted to do. And I realized that there is a lot of pressure on people in society these days, and I find this is very prevalent with people who come in the coaching space, to figure out what it is that you want to do. And I want to tell people something that's a bit counterintuitive to a lot of advice that sort of out there, which is that don't care so much. Don't put so much weight on what it is that you do, because you have to try a bunch of things to figure out who you are, which is a lot more important. And when you figure that out, and then you in turn figure out how you want to serve people, what you do sort of becomes very fluid and becomes this organic sort of notion that changes. I've acted in a feature film. I've had a couple of photography exhibitions. All of this happened after I left medical school. I traveled the world quite a bit. I lived in Europe for a few months. And I don't say any of this to show off. In fact, some people might say self-deprecating that I did all this crap. But I did it as a way to figure out, well, I had all these experiences. In retrospect, looking at it, what was the common thread that said something about who I am and how I wanted to serve people and how I wanted to express myself. And in that, I found that, at this particular point in time, I happen to run a global digital branding and marketing agency. And I'm having a blast doing it. It's a lot of fun. In 5 years' time, I might be doing something else. But what I know is that if I stay true to who I am, true to myself and how I want to serve people, then generally the trajectory of my fulfillment and my success will be going upwards. And it won't so much matter what I do. I'll keep helping people.
And that's great. And I want our viewers to really hone in on not only everything Dev said, but one thing in particular. He did a lot of different things and found the common thread throughout them, and that's what he's sticking with, and that's kind of the direction he's moving in. I know for Dev, you and I are kind of kindred spirits in that way, even though mine has been more localized than yours. I did a lot of, it's funny, I used to, I took about an 8-year period and I gathered what I called a lot of eclectic experiences. I used to love to describe it like that. And, I chose a little bit of a different path. I did pretty much anything and everything, and it was kind of a blast for a while. But when I look back and when I finally, after going through IT and everything else, finally got into this area, what I realized is, creativity and marketing and sales and everything else that we do here at VideoContent.Agency was the common thread. And people go, wait a minute, you were in IT. How can an information technology guy be creative? And it's like, well, if you have to ask that, then you really don't get really the true coder mentality and the gamer and the deep hardcore IT guy, because it really is creative. And it's just a different canvas. It's a canvas of a keyboard. It's a canvas of a keyboard and a mouse and a programming language versus a camera and a set of paints. So
and a lot of Monster Energy drink, right? right?
And a lot of Monster Energy drink, which if somebody from Monster is watching, please give us a call, sponsor us. We'd love to have you on. Trust me, I should own stock in your company at this point.
That's right.
Probably shocked you, Mark, this morning when I was drinking water. You know, it's just
oh my God!
Yeah, you know, that was actually
did your body break out into hives?
No, not yet. So anyway, we could talk for hours and hours, and this is about Dev and not me or not us. So what I want to do is get to the 3 questions Dev asked. I put them on the screen because they're, of course, valuable answers for Dev and valuable answers for people watching, especially, excuse me, you in the purple chair. Yeah, young lady in the purple chair. Okay, sorry. I know I rambled on. It's okay. Come back. Bring your attention back. Okay, we got you. Good, because this is important. So the first one was, how specific should a video blog topic be? It's an interesting 2-part question. So I will say part 1 is as specific as your audience, as will resonate with your audience, meaning your audience and whoever you're speaking to, your niche. We got to start saying niche, Mark. I've noticed that it's only Americans who say niche, and I've noticed that everybody else is niche. So the world is bigger than America. Maybe we'll start saying niche.
Niche it is.
I've never been able to decide that either.
So the first answer, which isn't really a concrete one, is it all depends on your audience. Meaning, if you have an audience that wants to sit down and listen to basically a 45-minute talk and wants to listen to a very broad topic and can sit and do that and really likes to sit down and consumes information that way, then it should be a broad topic. However, if you have an audience that really wants the quick and dirty, wants, I have 5 minutes of time, I'm going to give you 5 minutes of my time, tell me exactly what I need to know, then it's got to be laser focused, and it's got to be very small bits of information, and it's got to be, you talked about the 5 eternally reliable steps. Let me use that as a quick example. For one type of audience, doing all 5 and really getting deep into all 5 will work. For the second type of audience, doing 5 at a high level is going to work, because they're going to say, look, just give me the high level, and that's all I really need to know. But for other audiences, what you're going to need to do is do them one at a time for 5 different videos, and go into each, because they won't want to consume all the information at the same time. They're going to want to consume it in bites. And the interesting thing that I've seen from doing research, and granted, I'm not the medical doctor in this crew, so I just play one on TV. We have a doctor and
I'm not a medical doctor either, well, just to be clear.
Well, you know what I mean. I don't have doctor by my name, but I play one on TV. Bad American joke. But anyway, from what we've seen is that the interesting part is you can give people all the information, and if they're only ready to consume a piece of it, a lot of times you're going to turn them off by giving them all of it, because they're going to feel like they're missing out. You're going to cause those bad feelings inside, and then they're going to skip the video, where it's like, okay, if I just give you a quick 2 to 5 minute video, cool, I got all the information I need, I can go away, and then a couple days later give me the rest of it. It's one of the reasons why we're migrating, as we release these episodes for VideoContent.Agency. We also do this episode, the show we call The Wrap. At the end of every week, we record an episode, and we kind of give our learnings from the past week. We've been releasing those in big 45-minute chunks at the end of every week, and we're going to migrate to releasing the individual segments of this show over the course of the week to give people different ways to consume it. So I know it was a little bit of a long-winded answer, but does it get to the point of what you were really asking there, Dev?
Yeah, I think it does really well. It gives me some good ideas also. And I guess the only way you can really figure out what your audience wants is by testing. Is that how you guys do it as well?
Yeah, testing, and this is where, so 1 is testing, and 2, when you talked about being true and authentic and speaking to your true and authentic self, let's face it, like attracts like, and people are attracted to people they resonate with. If you are just true and authentic, and if you feel comfortable talking for an hour and a half or 2 hours, go do it, because you're probably going to attract those people, because those are probably the people that you interact with. Like, it's funny, folks, you didn't see, normally we do a little bit of prep work with guests and everything. I think we've probably talked to Dev, between Mark and I, at different times, 4 to 6 hours. I don't think it surprises anybody at this point, because we all love to talk, but like attracts like. So it's something that, you know, if you're speaking to your true and authentic self, usually the first time you're going to get it very close to being right and start attracting the people that you want. And let's face it, if you're more comfortable talking for a half hour straight, if you're more comfortable talking for an hour straight than you are in talking in 2 to 5 minute sound bites, when you force yourself to talk in 2 to 5 minute sound bites, you're not going to be able to get the point across, and you're going to attract nobody, because you're not going after people you resonate with, because you're not used to talking like that. You know, it doesn't feel comfortable. And then the people who you would have resonated with, the ones that want all the content, just want to sit and listen to somebody talk for an hour, aren't going to listen to you because you only had 2 to 5 minutes worth of content. That kind of all makes sense?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, and very well said as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the other part I'll throw in is that it's about managing expectations, right? I mean, as people will see in a couple of minutes in your episode, when you talk about the 5 eternally reliable steps, that 5th one about always having a call to action, but in your video work, sometimes it's all about having a pre-call to action, I'll call it, I mean, or an orientation to say, here's my 5-minute overview on this topic. If you really are ready and want the 45-minute one, watch my video over here. So you can actually create all different lengths and essentially manage the expectation, you know, because we've all had that experience of not having enough time to watch a video, but you start watching it and it's so good and it's so arresting that you just stop everything and you watch for the next hour, you know, and you rearrange your schedule. So
kind of like our 2-minute promo of our 15-minute,
exactly.
2-minute promo. Yep, that.
Yes.
Another inside joke. You got. Everybody's got to start watching the show. You get all these inside jokes. Okay, so question number 2: how frequently should one post video content? Once again, there becomes 2 different answers. One is whatever resonates best with your ideal client and your niche, whatever way they're going to consume video the best. Where we always recommend people start at one day a week, then go to 2, then go to 3, and start working towards 3 to 5 days, and see where your audience's appetite is. I'll give you an example. Michael Hyatt used to blog and post every single day, and he did a whole big study and found that his readers, while they loved him, didn't want to hear from him every single day. And he found the right amount of blog posts per week were 3 times a week. And what he ended up doing was saying, okay, fine, I'm going to send you blog posts 3 times a week, and I'm going to also give you an option for a weekly digest. So it boils down to, what does your niche really want? How do they consume information? And then start off with, to find that, start off with 1, work your way up. Now, I will give you one other example. There's a guy at Firepole Marketing, Danny Iney, I think is his last name. He blogs every single day, and he's just, I mean, either this guy is the most prolific content writer in the history of the world, or he's got a lot of this stuff banked up, because every day it's a blog post this big, an email this big. I mean, it's amazing. So, but that's what he feels his audience will, that's what he feels his audience will absorb. So once again, it goes back to your audience and your niche. So, Mark, anything to add? I was going to say anything to add to that. I was kind of like, we all froze at the same time. Anything to add to that, Mark?
Nope, that about sums it up. Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, the frequency is what works. And that's about testing and trial and error, and really trying to get some interactivity with your audience.
Does that kind of answer that question for you, Dev, or do we need?
Yeah, thank you. I guess I was also curious about any general trends maybe in the video space, and particularly how it might be a little bit different to blogging, or I guess different mediums compared to maybe sound, or compared to the written word.
Sure, and that's a great question. And the video space, because of on-demand and because of people switching to this DVR and on-demand mentality, it really becomes, it's still key to your audience, because you don't want to make your audience feel left out, But for video, it is a little more forgiving, where you could put you can and pretty much should be putting episodes out, at least 3 to 5 times a week, so that people can then go and consume it. Because, once again, the search engines are shifting, everything is shifting now, and the more video content you have out there, the better. It's kind of interesting, because we have, and most people don't see this because a lot of them are private and we distribute them in different ways, but we probably have, I think, between all of our YouTube channels, close to 1,000 videos at this point, would be my guess, between all of them. But we release them in different ways, in different formats. So some of them are private, some of them are hidden, some of them are unlisted, and I don't have at my command the time today to go into why we do in all those different methods, or why we do it all those different ways. But it's, if you look at what we've been doing, I would say on average we've had, 1 episode a day. I think if we average everything out, we've probably released 1 video on average a day pretty much this entire year. It's just been in different formats at different times. Sometimes they all come grouped together, but it's about getting that content out there. Because we were talking in another video, just real quick, part of it is people, when they first start producing video, are going to make mistakes. So you want to get enough content out there over time when you get really good that it basically pushes the rest of them kind of down to the bottom, but you want to leave the rest of them there, because who loves a better, everybody loves blooper reels, and everybody loves when people make mistakes, and especially, when stars make mistakes. So leave them out there and let people see them, because then when you're a big star, they can go back, you can laugh about them, and you can, as a James Malinchak, from doing speaking, you probably know James, probably heard of James Malinchak. He tells a very funny story, and we'll show a picture of him in high school. And this guy's about 6'5", 6'6", and he went to high school he went to, I think, grade school back in the 70s, if I'm not mistaken. And here in America, we weren't always as fashion forward as the rest of the world. So we had these shorts that were about this tall, and all guys kind of affectionately refer to them as nut hugger shorts, because if you look at picture, it's kind of like there was so. I
think I get the idea.
Yes. So he kind of jokes around about that, but it's it's all the stuff that makes you human. So in the interest of time, I want to get to your third question, and I'm going to make this
and in the interest of time, we're going to have to go very quickly on this question.
I know. I'm watching the clock, man.
All right.
Yeah, please forgive my yawning. It wasn't you, Chris. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning here. That's all it was. But you have my complete attention. That was very helpful answers. Thank you.
That's okay. I've been told I have a soothing, relaxing voice. You're getting very sleepy. You're opening your credit card wallet right now, paying this way. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So what are the most promising emerging platforms for video? And the odd part about this question is there are 2 platforms that have been around forever, and that is Facebook and Twitter. Facebook and Twitter are making a concerted effort to take on YouTube as far as videos go. And it's very interesting to see what's going on. Some people believe YouTube is going to have enough power to fend them off. Other people think that with the sheer numbers that are on Facebook and Twitter, people are going to say, why do I need to go to YouTube when I can just look at my Facebook stream? So it's going to, the next 3 to 5 years is going to be very interesting to see where it all goes, and does YouTube go the way of what the tech site GigaOM just happened? One of the biggest tech reporting sites, in fact, probably the biggest tech reporting sites in the world, just got shut down and laid off 75 to 90 employees, and they were a multi-million-dollar company, and it just they just went the way of the dodo bird, so to speak. So anyway, you know what? Awesome. That's the short version. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Twitter and Facebook. Mark, I'm going to throw it back up to you for your last thoughts, Dev's last thoughts before I roll the tape.
Yeah, well, my last thoughts are, definitely stick around to see the interview with Dev that's coming up, because it's chock full of great content that's really is going to help you develop a world-class brand. You're a very deep fellow, Dev.
Thank you.
In the best sense of the word. So yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, and I'm glad you stayed up late for us over in Sydney. It's early for us, late for you, although it's getting early for you now. So we're going to have to let you go in just a second. So appreciate you taking the time to be with us and to stick around and do a behind-the-scenes episode. Hope you've enjoyed it as well.
No, it's been more than worth it. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it, and thank you so much for your insights, Chris, as well. I have believe it or not, I was completely paying attention, as sleepy as I'm getting. I was inspired to have a couple more questions as well that I'll ask you offline.
No problem. So, Chris, I'm gonna have you wrap us up and then get us to Dev's episode.
Excellent. So, if you're a coach or consultant and you made it this far, which if you're listening to my voice, obviously you have, then first thing you want to do is stick around and watch Dev's episode. It's going to give you a lot of great information and going to help push you and your business forward and help you create a world-class brand. If you're a coach or consultant and would like to be featured as a guest on Expert Showcase and realize that the power of being on an internet television show, media property like this will help you push your business forward and help you get more clients and give you a great piece of free marketing collateral. Yes, I did say free. Head on over to expertshowcase.com, click the big yellow apply button, send us your application, we'll check it out. If we feel you're a good fit, we'll get back to you and have you as a featured guest on the Expert Showcase. And finally, if you're a coach or consultant and you realize that the power of video is what you need to build your visibility, your credibility, and your authority in your niche, then what you want to do is head over to VideoContent.Agency, check out the services page, check out the video, the visibility, the credibility, and the authority packages. Pick the one that's right for you, get in contact with us, and let's see if we're a good fit to work together. And now, without any further ado, I'm going to roll the tape.
Today on Expert Showcase, we travel to Sydney, Australia to meet with Dev Singh, talking about 3 fundamentals to build a world-class brand. Dev, welcome to Expert Showcase. We're so happy to have you as today's expert guest. I said we traveled to Sydney, Australia. Unfortunately, only through the intertubes. You get to be in Sydney, Australia. How are you doing today?
I'm very well. It's quite late here in Sydney, but I'm very excited and awakened to be on the show with you, Mark. So thank you for having me.
And oddly, it's very early here in the U.S. of A. So there you go. So Dev, orient our audience a little bit here. What are we talking about in today's episode?
Today we're talking about, Mark, 3 things that I believe are extremely fundamental for coaches, consultants, business owners, particularly the coaches and consultants that are starting out, to get right to build a world-class brand. And I know that terminology gets thrown around. It's a bit of a catchphrase sometimes, but I have a very specific and clear idea of what I mean by world-class. And as we go through the points in the segment, I'll explain exactly what that means and why it's so valuable. But essentially, if you're looking to get more customers, if you're looking to make more money, and most importantly, if you're looking to have a greater impact on the world through your work, which I know a lot of your audience will, then these are the 3 keys that I believe are fundamental.
Excellent. So just to do a quick rundown now of the 3 keys that we're going to hit. So we're going to talk about understanding the difference between branding and marketing. We're going to talk about learning the importance of and the relationship between message, audience, and language. And then we're going to talk about delivering compelling messages with 5 eternally reliable steps. I like that. So let's take those in order, Dev. I know we could probably talk for days on these topics. We're going to basically hit the highlights here and then tell people how to get in touch with you if they would like to delve deeper into the depths of this. So let's start with understanding the difference between branding and marketing. I would venture to guess that probably quite a few marketing professionals don't know the difference.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of people don't know the difference, and a few that do, they don't appreciate the difference. It's probably one of the biggest challenges I've found when I'm training and leading on stages, explaining this stuff to people. And as you rightly said, I do often spend at least a full day explaining this whole thing. So to give you a quick summary, I'm just going to refer to my notes here to make it more specific. But the biggest challenge that I find with branding and marketing is not understanding the difference is going to get you in trouble, because you don't know when you're measuring a branding activity and when you're measuring a marketing activity. And often how that affects coaches and consultants, I find, is that when they get started, they invest a lot of time in one or the other, expecting the value that they should be getting from the other activity.
Right.
So to explain very clearly what branding is, it's really the strategic development articulation of your organization. I have a very specific and very special definition that I've come up with for brand over the years, over the years of working with brands all around the world. And what it is specifically this: your brand is your customer's experience of their relationship with you. How you nurture that experience that they have of that relationship with you, how you develop it, how you influence it, and how you direct it to make that experience something truly unique and special is the act of branding. And anything that you do that is going to develop and enhance that experience, that essentially is what branding is. Now, how this differs to marketing is very, very key and important, and some people still will think it's a facetious differentiation, but it's actually not, I reassure you, and I'll explain exactly why in a minute. So I'm going to refer to the American Marketing Association's definition. I'll just tilt my head over here to read it exactly. It's the American Marketing Association defines marketing as the activity, set of institutions, and processes for creating, communicating, delivering, and exchanging offerings that have value for customers, clients, partners, and society at large. Now, it's a very all-encompassing definition.
Right.
And
it's broad.
A lot of people, sorry, what was that?
Yeah, I said it is definitely broad, yeah.
It's very broad. It's very broad. And this is why I stress so often to people who ask me this, and I say, well, you know what? Marketing is essentially everything that builds your business. It really is. So then people ask me, well, you're talking about the difference between branding and marketing. Why is that important? It's very simple. Marketing, in even simpler terms, in my terms, is everything that is involved in finding and getting and keeping the customers that you have. Branding takes it to a next level. Branding really enhances that experience that you have with them. Therein building a world-class brand. And there's a lot of things that you can do to not just be marketing, but actually be building a world-class brand through branding activities specifically. And unfortunately, we don't have too much time for that, but in the next few key points, we'll talk more about it.
Yeah, we'll tell people how they can get in touch with you, because they're going to want to by the end of even our brief overview here. So let's get into some of that. So learning the importance of the relationship between message, audience, and language. Obviously, these are key, but maybe subtle to some people.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about niche marketing or finding your niche in a market, and they kind of stop there. And what I found working across a lot of different types of organizations, with a lot of different types of clients over different cultures in different countries, is that there's something that unifies the success that people have, regardless of where they're coming from in terms of the size of the business, whether it's coaching or consulting or whatever it might be, regardless of what kind of customers and clients that they're dealing with, and regardless of the culture that they're coming from. And it's really the integrity that those three components have with each other. Your message, quite simply, is what it is that you have to say. Now, where people get a little bit confused about this is that it's not what you have to say. There's a difference. And the difference is that what your message is really something that transcends your products and services. And what I mean by that even more specifically is that it's really an accumulation of the values that you stand for, what you stand for, and in some cases even what you stand against. When you can start articulating that, what you're actually articulating is the ethos and character of your business. When you start doing that, you can start actually emphasizing what makes you different in the marketplace. When you start doing that, people will value you for who you are as a coach and consultant, and all of a sudden what you've done by doing that is you've eliminated any notion of competition, because there's only one of you, right? You can't compete with other people when what you're actually presenting, what you're actually speaking and saying is your unique message, and everybody has one. Sometimes it takes a bit of digging into to find out what that is, and that's again something that I do a little bit deeper with clients. Then we come to audience, and this is more around the traditional niching sense, but it's essentially, well, who is your audience? If you could get on stage for just 5 minutes and you had an opportunity to share that message with people, that message that's not what you're going to sell, it's what you want to say, who would those people be? Who would that audience be? And that's why I like the notion of figuring out your audience, not just your customers and clients, because I think sometimes we can have a lot of different kinds of customers and clients at different levels, and people get obsessed with this idea of creating your perfect customer avatar. I think it's a great exercise and everyone should do it. But even before you do that, figure out who your audience is, who is going to value that unique and differentiated message that you have, which is even bigger than your business. It's actually about who you are, not just what you do. Then it's about language. That's the third factor, which is really about, well, everybody speaks a unique language. And as I mentioned, I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of clients all around the world from different cultures who literally do have different languages.
Right.
And yet what I found is that everybody has a unique language that's very specific to them, and market segments will have a different language that's specific to them. And they might all be speaking English, but the style that they're communicating in, the things that are on the front of their mind, things that they value, things that they want to talk about, are going to be very different. And if you can figure out what that language is, then you can really start getting into their heart and speaking to them at an emotional level. And the reason that we do this is very simple. It's people buy from emotion. They don't buy from a place of logic.
Right. Absolutely. I love the distinction you're making, that it's the relationship you're really building in this branding process, and that's what is your unique feature. Of course, there's only one of you. Your company has a unique, personality essentially that you're cultivating at that point. The point of sale is a very small piece of that. It's the relationship overall with who you are as a company or who you are as a coach or a consultant, and that's what you're cultivating through these vehicles of the message, knowing who your audience is because you're building a relationship with them, and then carefully choosing your words and your language, right? So I really like that distinction. I think that's very helpful.
Thank you.
So let's talk about the message itself then. So you talk about 5 eternally, you're making a big promise here, Dev, 5 eternally reliable steps. Let's talk about this.
Look, absolutely. Firstly, I want to emphasize the point that I didn't come up with these 5 eternally absolutely perennial steps that will last forever, and they will be so compelling and so important that they're really going to be valuable to you in your life in general, not just in your business. Anytime you want to have influence over somebody when you're communicating a message, if you can keep these 5 keys, 5 steps, I should say, in mind, you're gonna absolutely accelerate your influence. I didn't come up with these, and they've come from fields of social psychology, studies of influence, the world of internet marketing again and again. Some of your audience may have heard of these before as well. They're not trademarked to any one particular person, and yet it surprises me how many people are simply astounded by the simplicity and the elegance of these messages and don't actually follow them, don't actually do a lot of these steps. The thing that often comes to mind is this concept of the elusive obvious. It's when you share an idea with somebody and they think, oh, wow, that's so obvious. Why didn't I think of that?
Right.
But it eludes them until somebody else points it out.
That's
so
right.
Whilst these are very, very simple steps, I find they're extremely valuable. And I'm just going to refer again to my notes over here to explain them properly. So the first step, really, really quickly, is to create an awareness of need. Whenever you're sharing a message with someone, if you're not making it absolutely clear what is the need that the person has to, A, listen to your message, and then B, stay in touch with that message to actually follow through with what's coming at the other side of it, you've lost them before you've even begun. And a lot of people will jump in and not realize that what's actually happening by not creating an awareness of need is that they're being self-absorbed. And I know that sounds really harsh to some people.
Well, it's true.
Yeah, but calling them out on that. But it's true. It is true. A lot of people are self-absorbed, and sometimes that's because they have an anxiety around being in this position of selling or trying to convince somebody of something. But the fact is that if you think of it from the perspective of you are in business to serve other people, and you're building a brand because what you're really building is the experience and the quality and value of experience that somebody has with your exchange of services, then you're creating an awareness of need. You're not convincing them that they need something that they don't. You've actually gone to the point of thinking about what they need, and you're just making them aware of it so that you can serve them better. That's the absolute first step. The next step is explaining the opportunity value and the opportunity cost. What that means is that they need to have an intimate understanding of what is the value of listening to you and listening to that message and actually paying attention to it, and also what's the cost of not listening to it. So what might they be missing out on or losing or potentially risking if they don't pay attention to that message carefully enough. And it's a big thing. People often jump from creating an awareness of need to just going right for
the sale. Yeah.
Go for the sale or go for the kill.
Right.
They don't understand that if you're not explaining the actual specific value, just because somebody feels that they need something doesn't mean that they're emotionally inspired to want it. Mm-hmm. That's the key difference. Now, the third thing that you need to do, regardless of the context, again, this is not just sales, it transcends that, is that you need to demonstrate credibility. Mm-hmm. Why is the person that you're talking to and listening to you specifically delivering that message? You need to demonstrate credibility of the message itself. Mm-hmm. So not just the value of taking action on whatever the message is, but the value of the message itself to them specifically, personally, and also in a global sense. In the greater scheme of things of what they care about, making sure that it's aligned with their values. Once you've done that, you need to demonstrate credibility for yourself, that you're the right person to actually be delivering this message. You know, I've had the privilege of delivering this message to hundreds of people all around the world now. That doesn't automatically give me credibility. But you know, I'm very fortunate to be able to share this message again and again, and having actually implemented this and worked with dozens and dozens of businesses and made them a lot of money in the process and helped them impact the world and change them. When I explain to people that this process has gone through that kind of rigorous testing and I've been there to deliver that and help them, what it does is it inspires trust. And when it inspires trust, it allows people to take action with more confidence. So some people have a problem with demonstrating credibility because they feel that it's showing off or it's obnoxious. Maybe not as much in America as it is in Australia. People are a little
That's probably true. We probably have less trouble with that than many.
Well, I've done most of my training from Americans, so all the love to that. But I know very well Australians and other people in other cultures have a little bit more of a tall poppy syndrome, as we call it.
A little more self-effacing, yes, exactly.
Exactly, absolutely. And it's part of our charm, I guess. And yet sometimes it can be a problem if it's an insecurity. And the way it becomes an insecurity is if you think that it's not actually part of delivering the service to the people that you want to serve, but it actually is. Because unless you can inspire that kind of trust in what you have to say and who you are, they're not going to take action. And if they're not going to take action, especially as a coach and a consultant, you're not actually empowering them to help themselves better. So next time... Excellent point, because I mean, if you don't inspire yourself, you know, as a leader, then why would they follow, right? So exactly, yes. And then this is very, you know, the underlying unsaid message in this is something that you just pointed out, Mark, which is that it is actually about leadership. So I really implore everyone listening to this, be courageous when it comes to demonstrating credibility, and demonstrate your credibility from the point of service. If you just hold that intention when you're doing it, it will be a lot more valuable, it will be a lot more genuine, and it will actually help make a difference. So step 4 is where we start going into the actual territory of explaining the actual sale. So at this point, we're explaining the unique selling proposition. Now that's a very common term people understand in sales. In case some of you listening don't understand that, a unique selling proposition is simply what is the value of what it is that you have to sell that is unique. Now, the reason that that's really important is because many, many neuroscientists over generations have studied what impacts our brain to make purchasing decisions or take action on something. And what they've done is a lot of tests that compare quality versus uniqueness. And what a lot of tests have found, and if anyone wants to email to actually ask me about these studies, I happen to have a medical science degree, so I'm a little bit of a nerd when it comes to these things. I studied a lot of neuropsychology and neuroscience at university. And if anybody wants to email me and ask me for these studies, I'm more than happy to share them. But basically what the findings of these studies are is that people will take a lot more action based on uniqueness and put a lot more trust on uniqueness than they will on quality. Now that sounds counterintuitive, and it seems almost dumb, to be honest, that why would you take something just because it's different when you have the option of taking something that's technically better? I'm not exactly sure why that is, but that's what seems to happen. Well,
and here's the obvious truth of that, right? When you walk down the aisle of the store, you'll see lots and lots of products that say new and improved. When's the last time you saw one that says better? You know,
that's true.
You know, that's not happening by accident, right?
No. A lot of research goes into this stuff, and it's a very consistent finding that anything that comes out as completely separate and distinctive to the market will actually sell better, essentially, and reach and connect with their audiences and customers better. So what I would encourage people to do is really strive to be the best version of yourself. But when it comes to marketing, when it comes to compelling messages, don't try and convince people that you're better than anyone else. Don't try and convince people that you're best. Convince people that you're different, and what you have to offer uniquely resonates with them, uniquely resonates with their need. And if you follow these steps in sequence, in order, and you follow them carefully with genuine intentions, they will be compelling and they will be eternal. They'll be eternally irresistible and very, very useful. And that brings me to the fifth point, the fifth and final point, which it seems so obvious to me, and as a marketing expert, Mark, I'm sure it seems pretty obvious to you, and it seems obvious to Chris, and other people who have more experience with marketing, it seems obvious to them. However, even with people it seems obvious too, it never fails to amaze me how many people forget to do this. Even I forget to do this sometimes, which is the fifth and final step to deliver a compelling message. Have a call to action.
Right.
Always, always ask for something.
Yes.
I'm sure you've seen in your experience as well plenty of people who do all of those 4 steps pretty well, and then they just forget to ask for something.
Right.
They forget to make a call to action, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like you've got me. I'm on the hook. Tell me what to do next, and you just go away.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to. Tell me what button to hit. I'm ready.
Yeah, it's painful, and I think a lot of this is rooted in again an anxiety that people have instilled in the back of their mind, which is that if I'm selling, I'm trying to take something. This is very much a mindset concept, and the mindset behind this is that sales is an act of taking, and I'm asking something, a call to action. It means that I am requesting you to give me something, as opposed to inspiring and empowering you to take action towards getting something that you actually need to help you reach your goals.
Another beautiful distinction there. Absolutely. I mean, you're right. I mean, people fear because I'm taking your money, and they're forgetting that, no, I'm delivering a product or service. I'm delivering something that we've just had a conversation, and you've just told me you need. So I'm doing you a favor, and yes, there's a cost, but that's the afterthought. But that's what gets people hung up. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think a big part of that as well is that when people think about the idea of delivering compelling messages or making a sales call or having a sales conversation, they mistakenly believe that the entire sales process is a call to action. The entire sales process starts when you're asking them to, please give me something, or please do this, or please go to this website or this offer, or something like that. It's actually not true. The sales process, or even the process, I guess, of delivering these compelling messages, actually begins in your very first interaction. And the way that it begins in the first interaction is very simple. You just simply ask them, well, what is your biggest challenge? What are you challenged with at the moment? What is your need? And most people will be really grateful for that, because a lot of people don't have that awareness of need. And in just ticking off that first step of delivering your message, you've actually served the people that you set out to serve automatically.
Well, Dev, amazingly, I think you have delivered on that big promise of 5 eternally useful things. And so I'm going to wrap us up at this point, because I clearly spend days, and I'm going to really encourage people to very much get in touch with you. We'll tell people exactly how to do that. This is... I know we've had to be brief and keep it kind of tight, but there's enormous depth and value even at this surface level, and obviously there's much more for people to learn. So we've been talking about the 3 fundamentals to build a world-class business, and you've got much more than 3 fundamentals that you've just delivered. So we talked about understanding the difference between branding and marketing. We talked about learning the importance and the relationship between message, audience, and language, and then we just went through, even at a surface level, delivering compelling messages with 5 eternally reliable steps, and absolutely great stuff. So Dev, people are going to need to get in touch with you. Let's tell them how to do that. The website is sketchpadideas.com. That's how you get connected with Dev Singh, and his email is dev@sketchpadideas.com. Very tricky email there, Dev. Very difficult to follow there. And you've got a bit of an offer for people. So if they go to sketchpadideas.com, you have an opportunity to get a 25-minute call with Dev you just got a sense of how much value you're going to get out of even a 25-minute call, going through your brand and looking, doing an audit and optimization kind of process with Dev. So Dev, that is a very generous offer indeed, because it's clear to me that your time is valuable. I'm feeling the value just in the conversations we've had prepping for the show, as well as doing the show with you. So I really appreciate all these great insights.
My pleasure, Mark. Thank you so much for having me. And I have to apologize on record for how long it's taken to get on the show. I have been very challenging, I know, to...
well worth the wait, Dev. Well worth the wait.
I hope so. I hope your insights...
I think that will be very obvious to people as they watch and listen. So thank you so much. We look forward to continuing to talk to you and have you be part of our world. But today, thank you for being our guest expert on Expert Showcase.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And another great Expert Showcase episode. Chris, what should people do right now?
Yeah, if you're watching this and you're a coach or consultant, imagine what it would do for you and your business if you were a guest on Experts Showcase. And here's the best part. Other than possibly increasing your business, an appearance on Experts Showcase is free. We give you a copy of your episode so you can use as marketing collateral, and we give you a coaching session to go along with it to tell you how you can best market your episode and other tips and tricks about your business. So what you want to do is head on over to expertshowcase.com, click on the big yellow apply button, and apply to be our next featured guest on the Expert Showcase. Now, if you're a coach or consultant and you've already imagined what having your own internet talk show will do for you, then we want you to head to VideoContent.Agency and check us out, check our packages out, and get in contact with us. Let's see if we're a good fit, and let's see if we're the ones to produce you and make you the next star and have your own internet talk show. And until next time, Mark, anything else?
I couldn't have said it any better, so just do what he said.